Firstly, I just want to ask you just a real simple one that you've probably been asked many, many times. You've been out of the NRL for a while now, obviously. You had quite a successful career. And I guess one of the interesting questions for me, and I guess I know this as a friend, but just for listeners, how hard did you find that sort of initial transition from being a footballer to then obviously you made a quick transition to celebrity and didn't miss that bit, but I'm sure there was some type of transition that you had to get adjusted to. How was that for you?
A little bit of a hole I was in, probably how I felt. I found it hard, but I didn't find out about myself until, like I said, about a year later.
Mm-hmm. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are, listeners. Guys, today we have on our podcast at Thinking Man Business Labs one of my very good friends, I must disclose very early, but also a top bloke and NRL legend, comedian, actor, all of the above, plus more, and a top bloke to boot. Welcome, Beau.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah, I
while trying
love
to
it.
set it up, so it's always good to chat, and yeah, we probably try to talk more about some of our personal stuff sometimes than we do just stuff that we should for the podcast. But we'll try and keep it nice and serious for this one, and we'll just have a bit of a brief chat about what you're up to, how things have been, and firstly, I just want to ask you just a real simple one that you've probably been asked many, many times. You've been out of the NRL for a while now, obviously. You had quite a successful career, and I guess one of the interesting questions for me, and I guess I know this as a friend, but just for listeners, how hard did you find that sort of initial transition from being a footballer to then obviously you made a quick transition to celebrity and didn't miss that bit, but I'm sure there was some type of transition that you had to get adjusted to. How was that for you?
Mate, at the time, it was quite smooth because I got injured and retired early, but I was doing work with Channel 9 nearly on a full-time basis. I mean, when I wasn't training, which was 5 days a week, or 4 or 5 days a week, and then weekends, I was filming. So all my spare time was taken up with that. So that when I retired, it was literally on the Thursday night. I had the Friday off. Saturday, I had to go to a Cronulla game and then started work Monday, Tuesday with Channel 9. So I didn't have any time to think about it. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have really any time to dwell on anything, and went straight into what I'd already been doing, but probably a little bit busier. At first, it started off my normal 2, 3 days plus my footy show night, a little bit of travel overseas from back then. And then I was doing stuff for the NRL and the Sharks at the time. And I've become busier and busier. So the actual transition from, footy player to post happened quickly and
Mm-hmm.
very smoothly. But in terms of how I felt, I didn't really know what I was going through until probably it was 2014 when I retired. So probably 2015, 2016, it started to hit me. Um, a little bit of a hole I was in, probably how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like anything. I was doing the same thing every day. It's like, you rock up to training, you get told, what to wear, where to be, what
Yeah,
to
sure.
do, what to eat,
Yeah.
what time to be there. And then this newfound freedom I have and less routine impacted me far greater than I thought it would.
Right.
I'm a routine person and I like a quite disciplined person. And when I sort of had this, no, the walls come down, I didn't have any real boundaries and could do what I wanted. I found it hard, but I didn't find out about myself until, like I said, about a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I did struggle, um, just from I like team sport, I like team environment,
Sure.
build team building and being around people trying to achieve the same goals. So it actually hit me without me even knowing. And I know a lot of good mates who have retired over the last 5, 10 years have struggled the same. But I was telling myself that I was fine. And yeah, when really, I had an opportunity where a job where I was busier and had a lot more success. But yeah, there was still a hole that I needed to fill and a cup that I wasn't filling up.
Yeah, and I guess how did you eventually get through that? I'm sure there was whether it was 6 months or 12 months, depending on however
Mm.
long it lasted. And some of that, I guess, team stuff never will ever go away because it's part of your DNA. But I guess I'm more interested in, when did you get that full acceptance that, okay, footy's now over, and this is Beau Ryan now, and this is the next stage of my progression as a human.
Well, like I said, it didn't hit me till much later on, because I was still around the team on weekends at games. I was still working for the NRL. I was still around the footy show, so I was still around a lot of rugby league people, and I could go in and see the guys, and whether at training or game day, sort of on my own terms whenever I chose. So it didn't really hit me then. But the way I got through it, I mean, I'm not a big drinker, but I was drinking a fair bit. And like with rugby league, you are disciplined. So I then went from barely drinking at all, or having 3 or 4 big drinks a year, whether it was Mad Monday, an away, like a semi-final loss, or, an away game, or a mate's wedding or christening or whatever it was, to being exposed to so many different events and opportunities where I could drink, that I'd said, even if I said yes to 50%, I was probably drinking twice a week. And looking back at it, that was just to mask how I felt, probably. I just, and a freedom. I never had that opportunity before to be able to drink when you want, whether it's, have a couple of beers with your wife at dinner, or, go to a long lunch. And I sort of, I'm a sort of all or nothing person. And when I was drinking and partying and that more, it took its toll. I kept telling myself I was okay because I was getting up and going to work and ticking all the boxes that I had to for my career. But yeah, inside I was struggling without really knowing it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and thanks for opening up on that. It's really important for other guys to hear. I mean, if you've got any tips, and I don't think it's just segregated to rugby league. I think it's the same for a professional that gets sacked as the CEO of, say, any company, and then goes, okay, his identity gets lost with that career, because that career is potentially over if you can't find something to replace it. So it's not strictly rugby league players that go through this type of transition.
No.
Would you have any tips for some of these guys that struggle with that, or people that are coming towards the end of retirement in any facet, I guess, of life, whether it's business or football or not?
Yeah. No, I like that you said your identity, and that was probably one thing that worked in my favour. My identity was as a rugby league player, but I didn't, as my career blossomed in media and presenting, I sort of found my identity in that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It made the transition a little bit easier for me, thank God. But that's the biggest problem when people lose their identity. And it might not be as a rugby league player, or, a sportsman, cricketer, athlete, whatever. It could be, I tell people it's like going into a builder and saying to a carpenter, you can't work here anymore. But you can't build anymore. You can still come past the work site and see everyone, but you can't be around them when they're building. And you can't go and work anymore. It's something you've worked your ass off your whole life to learn this craft and this trade. And in my world, it was rugby league. And, it's a slippery slope when you say to someone they can't go and you can be around those people, but you can't perform the tasks and routines and things that you've done every single day since, in my case, when I was 5 years old, when I started playing rugby league. It is dangerous. The best way for me to get through it, in my experience, I can only talk about what I went through, is I didn't open up to a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. I have a few people in my life that I look up to, and I like people who have got life experience. So to confide in someone who'd been through a similar thing, whether it was a past player, my manager, that gave me a lot of hope, because there was times when I just felt shit and I didn't think I'd feel better.
Yes.
But to see other people that had walked in those shoes before, or walked down that path, and to know that they were okay and they've come out of it, it does give you a little bit of hope, which really helped me. Another thing was my family. Like my wife, I've been with her since we were younger. We've broken up a couple of times on and off, but we'd been through so much together. In my career, personal life, we've had ups and downs, and we've had losses in the family and a lot of tragedies. So we've ridden the wave together, and she saw how I was up and down, and she saw the way it affected me. As I saw when she left, she stopped working to have our daughter, and she loved hairdressing, man, and she had her own business and she put everything into it. And she went through a similar thing. And the problem for us, a lot of it was there was a crossover and it was at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we both struggled. And, trying to be the man and trying to be the leader of the family, I, sort of put on a brave face and took control of the situation and, told her everything was okay when really inside I was probably hurting more than her. But, trying to be a provider and a protector, I tried to be someone that didn't show any weakness or pain. And I look back and I wish I did. I wish I showed a bit more vulnerability. I didn't let too many mates in. 2013 to 2015 was a pretty dark years in my life, and a lot of people I hung out with, that they didn't really know the real me. And I look back and wish I was a bit more open to people, man. I really do. I regret that, but we've got through that period. And yeah, my advice is to people to, everyone's different. The older I get, the more experience I get in, not even just work, but with my family. Everyone's different, has got different needs, different tolerances. But
Sure.
like I said earlier, I'm a people person, and I like to bounce off people and talk to people if I'm down, or help them if they're feeling down. And my family was huge for me. I also had a couple of past players that I spoke to who had been through some really hard times as well, and a couple of people who were, live where I grew up, who had been through some pretty dark times too. So to see them come out of it, people I really looked up to, and to hear that they were feeling shit as well. Like I looked at a couple of, I won't say who it is, but a mate I had, I still have, I look up to him and he just seems bulletproof to me. But to sit with him in down at Windang Beach one day and really open up and get vulnerable and, just put it all on the line and, just, show all your good side, the good, the bad, the ugly of you. It really bonds you, and it really,
yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, being vulnerable really, made him a lot more relatable. And I like I said, I looked at him like he was just the king. And for my mate to be so open and raw with me, it really helped me more than he even knew.
Yeah, but I appreciate you opening up like that. And just to make it clear for everybody, I just want to thank Beau for what he's done for me in my life, because he's always been there for me, and I appreciate that. And I want to state that publicly. You've helped me through some tough times in my life, and you are the king, mate. Thank you for that.
No, more mate, you're a good person, and we met each other many years ago through a mutual friend, Eric. And I know it's funny, man. You meet people as you get older, your circle does get smaller, but you just find friends and find people who you can see yourself in, and I can see a lot of myself in you. And on FaceTime, she's trying to talk to my daughter. Yeah, even though we're so different, you're Macedonian and I'm Lebanese, we still relate to each other.
Yeah, well, I can pass Lebanese for sure. Easy.
100%. And I can pass for Maso too, Ryanovsky.
Yeah, Ryanovsky. Exactly. So on to some more positive things. We got pretty deep there for a second, so let's just shake that off for a sec.
All good, brother.
But so besides that, obviously things are going really well for you. Now I see you doing stuff on Studio 10, a whole bunch of other things. Sometimes I can't keep up with all the different things that you're doing. How do you run it all, but and also be a family man at the same time? How do you make that distinction, or do you say these 2 days I'm not available, or all that sort of stuff? How do you balance?
Yeah, that? It's a good question. I think playing rugby league from a young age, I've learned the art of switching on and not switching off. I think that's super important as a rugby league player. To not take your work home with you. And I did that from a young age. So I could always focus at training and then work out what I need to do, whether it was from weights or speed training or even, video or working out the other teams. I didn't take that work home with me. So I'd be able to switch off. And before I had kids, I'd work really hard on my presenting and stuff I did at Channel 9. So it gave me that, all the skills there because I was so present in the moment. And then when kids come along, I did the same thing. Didn't take work home with me, and it sort of just transitioned into media. It's a high pressure job. I do have my lifestyle is great, but my jobs are pretty risky and high pressure. And I leave it at work. I'll go to work and I'll be very well prepared and focused. But when I get home, I might talk in the car on the way home about what needs to happen or what I need to improve on or research for what's coming ahead. But then I leave it. I leave that at work so that when I'm at home, I can be present. Don't get me wrong. I'm still sitting in the backyard a lot of the times or going for a walk with my son, and I am thinking about shit.
Yeah.
But I'm doing my best to not do that. I think that'll always be a part of me. Always, I'm a bit of an overthinker, but I like to try and keep work and family separate, which is it's worked well for me so far, and I want to continue to do that.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. So if we go back even back to football now, so we've got the new season coming up, so everyone's excited. It should be a nicer, cleaner season, obviously, with hopefully the back end of, fingers crossed, the back end of
COVID.
hopefully we can say that word without it being cut off.
Yeah.
But what are you looking forward to this season, and what are you thinking about?
You know what? I just love the footy on. The trials are on now, and I just love it on. Whether, not so much going to a game. We live in Cronulla, and the Sharks play obviously here at Shark Park, but they haven't played here for 18 months or so. And that was a bit hard because I like to take the kids down, especially the little man down. But just knowing it's on, I don't know. I like watching it. I like having nothing to do with the teams as well. My heart is still with the Tigers and the Sharks, but I like having no investment in it in terms of I need someone to win or I need someone to play well. I like to just sit down and watch it as a fan. Yeah. And I probably struggled with that when I was a player, man. My first 2 years out, I struggled because my mind felt like I was still capable of playing. It's just my body let me down, and I really struggled going to training and watching the games. But now I genuinely love it, man. I love watching it, and I love that I've got nothing to do with it. Really, I love I still support the guys, but I don't have any investment in the game, which is great because it's a wonderful sport, man. It brings everyone together, and it's just good. I love watching the new guys come in, especially the Panthers and the Storm guys. I love watching those guys develop, and I think I do feel sorry for a lot of them. You see guys now go through good times and bad times. I think it's much harder now, man, with social media and all the other bridges they got to cross to be a rugby league player. Their life is, our life was in the spotlight a lot, but when we got home, it was over. Now, guys go fill up their car and they get being and videoed, which, can make things tricky. It's just another hurdle for the players, but I commend them for doing so, man.
Yeah, I guess it's a tough thing, I think, in society in general now with the way social media is. It's tough for our kids. We've got to watch out for our kids.
100%.
Even when they're on, what are they watching? You can't always be on their phone. If you look,
100%.
if you're trying to sneak over your daughter's shoulder or me looking over Lucas, my son's shoulder, Dad, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? So you're sort of like, you got to trust them in a way that you've brought up a kid that's responsible enough to look at the right things, but sometimes they're exposed to stuff that they shouldn't be at their certain age, and it gets so tough for parents sometimes. It really does.
It's really tough. It's really tough, bro. And like you said, man, you just got to try and do as best as you can. But like they're kids as well, man. I remember what I was doing when I was a kid and teenager, and they're still gonna do things that you don't want them to do. They're still gonna have regrets, but you want to learn them. You want them to learn, their own mistakes, but hopefully get unscathed in the process. But it is, man. It's hard, and there's no rule book for it, bro. There's no rule book for being a dad as well. A lot of people pass on advice, but everyone's doing it the best job they can. And mate, my kids, like everyone else, is in Sydney and Melbourne, have been locked down for the last 2 years. So to try and pull them off devices and get them to connect with each other and their peers and their family, it's hard, but mate, we're all learning, man.
Yeah, everyone's we're all learning. That's right. And the last 2 years probably been a big learning curve for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
For the whole world. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, I guess, 5 or 10 years down the track to see what sort of effect it's had. Because I'm really hoping that there's going to be a big reconnection of society over the next 6 to 12 months. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's what we try and do, bro. I'm with you, man. We try and connect as a family. And look, whether it's a bike ride or take the dog for a walk, get in the pool, we do that. And it's only natural for them to go back to their devices, and we let them do it. We do let them have device time, but it's just got to be a balance, bro. Just got to be a balance.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So, what are you looking forward to most for 2022? It's been we've gone through
2022. Most looking forward to the most. I mean, the world opening back up's been great. It's very good for me in my line of work with what I do for Channel 10. hosting essentially a travel show. So it's impacted me on my career quite heavily, but my health's good, my family's good, so we've been okay, and I've still been able to work in other areas. But each year I like to challenge myself with one extra job or commitment that we sit down each year, my wife and I, and we'll talk about what will help our family and what will help my career. So last year I did a show I probably wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have even think about doing for Channel 10. I went in the jungle, which was fucking hard, man. But it was a challenge.
How long did you last again?
I only lasted 3 weeks, bro, but 3 weeks is a long time, man. It's a long time. But so I'm sure something will come up this year, when I get back from filming for Channel 10, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I'm looking forward to that's career-wise. I'm looking forward to spending a lot of quality time with the kids. I mean, I travel a lot for work, but I'm lucky, like I said before, in my job, I can be focused in my job, whether it's travel for 2 months, and then I try and have that same amount of period of time at home with the family. I will still be working and doing Channel 10 and some radio stuff, but it's sort of making up for lost time because you can't get that time back. So that's the thing. My son's going to start playing footy, which he said he wants to do, so that's going to be interesting. My daughter started dancing again.
Nice.
Her second time round, so that'll be interesting. But I don't know, man. I'm like you. Time's just flying, eh?
Yeah.
Time's flying. I don't even know what happened in 2021, man. I can't really remember
it. I mean, I think it's a blur for all of us. It's like my son woke up the other day and he said, "Dad, I'm a size 11 shoe now," and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
but you're 13 years old," and I'm like, "I'm only a size 9."
Mate, I didn't see your son for about a year, and then I saw him, and he was like, I could have sworn the last time I saw him he was 7. Yeah. And then I saw him again, and now he's like 25. Yeah. And got hair down to there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, like you said, it's a learning curve for all of us, but it's I think we've got through hopefully the worst of it, and now we're just moving on. Like you said, the best parents we can be, the best people we can be, best society we can be. And I think as a society, we keep supporting each other and bringing ourselves together, we'll be absolutely fine. So
that's the main thing, bro. That people just need to support each other, man. Everyone's going through hard times, mate. Like personally, professionally, everyone's going through their own shit. And I don't know, man. I think I don't know. People were into each other, and people were biting each other's heads off there for a while. But I don't know, mate. The general tone, seeing people, whether it's at school pickup or in the city, I feel like people are genuinely concerned for other people now, which I haven't seen that in a long time, man. So there is faith for the human race, man.
Yeah, there is. Look, mate, we got pretty heavy, but I appreciate the time. I know you're real busy. I know you got plenty of stuff man. On, and like I said, I can't wait for you to get back down to God's country, where that is, and
I'll be down there soon, brother.
Yeah, and we'll catch up, and we'll see how things are. So, if there's any last 100%. Words for you, mate, please feel free. Other than that, thank you very much for joining us here on today's podcast.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks. You said to me that you want to thank me for being there, but mate, you same man. You always checking in on me, touching base, and that's as you get older. Like I said, your friendship circle gets smaller, but you don't need, I don't need to be talking to someone every week or texting my mates every day. But once a month or every few weeks when you reach out to someone and touch base with them, you don't know what they're going through. It can lift you out of a moment. I know, some people might look like they've got everything, but inside they're hurting. It happened to me, like I said, when I retired, man. So, yeah, I just urge people to talk to each other, mate, and be honest with each other.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Beau. You take it easy.
All good, bro.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Love you, my man.
I love you too,
I'll
bro.
speak to you, bro.
See you, mate.
brother.
Bye.
Bye.